Hello everyone, my name is Charlotte.
And I'm Michael.
And our project is LeakedIn. LinkedIn is a professional networking platform where people often share detailed personal information to connect with others. Many users don't realize that sharing certain details can actually allow strangers to infer sensitive information and create targeted social engineering attacks. This is my friend Amy's LinkedIn profile. In her profile, she states that she works at Bethany Community Church and that one of her responsibilities is to communicate with the guests on Sunday mornings. You guys don't know Amy, but you could look at her profile and correctly infer that she's religious, that she is predictably at this church on Sunday mornings, and that she cares deeply about helping others. All of the information in her profile could be used to create a cunning and convincing social engineering attack against her that maybe encourages her to download malware unknowingly to her device. The gap we identified is that for LinkedIn users like Amy, we have no way of telling her or measuring how safe or risky this profile is. And even if we were able to measure it, there's no system that exists that could help her to refine her profile to reduce her risk. To be able to measure a LinkedIn profile, we developed a rubric. The rubric has 48 different components, and the criteria in the rubric asks questions that range from, does this profile contain a phone number, to, on a scale from 0 to 2, how confidently could I infer this person's political stance? Michael and I hand-evaluated 15 profiles like Amy's against the rubric, tallied up the scores, and the possible scores from the rubric are from 0 to 100. 0 is safe, 100 is risky. So Amy, with her score of 80, is a more risky profile. Like I said, we did this for 15 profiles. The distribution is shown in the histogram on the screen. And our goal then was to get an agent to be able to produce the same scores that Michael and I got against the rubric. The agent also has the rubric, and by the fact that the black dots are all within the red lines, you can see there's high agreement between what we said and what the agent said the score should be.
Okay, so now we're on the system architecture. So as we said before, the inputs are the profile, but also what the user wants their score to be. So remember Amy, Amy wanted a score of 28, as we said before. And so the first step is to measure where she currently is. And so that's the first step here. So right now we said her score currently with the original profile is 80. This then goes to a decision. We say, is this close to what she wants to have? Obviously 80 on our scale is not close to 28, so we say no, and we enter a loop. So this loop first starts with a suggestion agent, which produces edit suggestions for her profile. It then goes to a judge to discard any bad suggestions, and then goes back to the profile for rewriting. Now that we've rewritten her profile, we score it once again. Now you can see on the top there that we've received a score of 27 for her profile. Now when we compare it to her intended score, which was 28, we see that we're quite close to it, and we'll terminate the loop there. And for output, we'll return that score and the profile along with the changelog. And so there's a couple metrics of success that we have in this case. The first is the risk alignment score. Does the score that we actually output of the final profile, is that close to what the user actually wanted? So remember Amy, she wanted 28. Could we get there? The second one is the integrity success. Is the original content of the profile actually preserved, or is it making up factual issues? And so going into the results exactly, we can talk about the risk alignment score specifically quantitatively. And so what we did here is we tried to rewrite each profile at different risk levels beneath it. So we were trying to intend to get safer options. And so I want to draw your attention to this specific example here with the number 2.4. That's an error, and I'll explain this right now. And so imagine we had a profile that was originally scoring 70, which is quite risky. Let's say that we wanted to rewrite it to be 10, which is much safer. In that case, we expect an error in our final profile score compared to the desired score of 2.4. This means that we might not really get them exactly at 10, but maybe we'll get 13 or 14, which is really close to what they actually intended. The second piece is the integrity success. How true is the old profile compared to the new profile? And so what we did in this case is we hand-labeled a subset of suggestions and passed or failed them based on whether or not they made up factual information or not. Then we did the same thing with our suggestion judge, and you can see the results here on a subset of 100. And so we found two major results. The first is that most of the suggestions, about 95% of them, were actually good to begin with. But the second thing we found is that, generally speaking, our judge was able to detect all of the bad mistakes that the suggestion agent actually output, which was good to know. And so one sample mistake that was caught, for instance, was it changing a skill from machine learning to cloud platform, which is a different technical skill. So that was obviously an integrity issue.
So what we saw overall is that the system is really good at identifying the specific things in a profile that are risky and providing suggestions. In this profile, it zeroed in on St. Clement's School, which is an independent private school in Toronto with high tuition. So by listing this on the profile, it was able to make inferences about socioeconomic background. The suggestion it made was to generalize this to an independent high school in Ontario. Something interesting we saw is that sometimes the system rewrites things that aren't even related to privacy. For example, it took deep learning and RNN and generalized to machine learning.
Okay, so now on to what we learned when we did the project. The first thing is just that defining what risk means in a quantifiable way is just tricky. And there's a lot of nuances that come involved with designing a rubric and a lot of different edge cases you have to consider. The second thing is prompt design being a bottleneck. And I'll just leave it at that.